What's going on, y'all? So here's some PlayStation news today, but good news for PC players. So Rise of Ronin, which was supposedly supposed to be a Sony exclusive, but we see now that was timed. Once again, more money adding. Releases on Steam on March 10th, and it's going to be $49.99, not $70. This is what's also interesting is Sony wanted to price it at 70 bucks. We're about to explain why and why it's also $49.99 over here. Watch this. This is interesting. So as we see, it's going to have 8K support, DirectX 12, ultra super ultra wide monitor support, 120 frames per second, ray tracing, 3D audio, AMD Fidelity FX super resolution, NVIDIA DLSS, Intel XeSS support. This is the interesting thing about this. So let's think about this. When this came out on PlayStation, it should have been $59.99, but it wasn't. Sony is the publisher, right? We see right over here, Sony Interactive Entertainment. But watch this. So if we click on this, it takes us to this page. Koei Tecmo Games is publishing it on PC. That means it wasn't first party. They were just publishing it for PlayStation, right? But as we see when they come over to PC, it's published by Koei Tecmo. It's their IP. What's interesting too is like if you look at like Ninja Gaiden, for example, 4, that's actually published by Microsoft and funded. But when it went to PlayStation, it still says Microsoft on there. We're talking about the difference because there was this debate going on saying that it's a Sony first party title. And I'm like, no, it's not. They don't own that IP. And it was a second party at most. But now we see it was a timed exclusive deal. And I would tell you guys something else. For people thinking that PlayStation games may not come to Xbox, all Microsoft has to do is follow that suit like they said they were going to do with getting the Steam hybrid OEM models. And if they do that, they could just get all these games right here. You see, that's a way because then at that point, it's like, okay, now we all have games on both platforms. What's going to really go on now then at that point? Loyalty and what somebody else wants to purchase, right? Going back over here, we can take a look at some of the comments. AK support. That's actually hilarious. I'm sorry, I find that funny. We have Ninja Gaiden too. It's interesting that PlayStation isn't a publisher on PC, but was for PlayStation 5. Let's see what somebody says about that. Who is it themselves? Devs probably didn't want to get themselves involved in that PSN account fiasco. Yeah, not really. It was supported by ex-devs and under a publishing agreement for PlayStation 5. Like Neo, nothing new here. But they want to keep it off of Xbox, which is pretty obvious. So, great, another PlayStation 5 exclusive put on PC. That's exciting news. This guy can't handle that. Pony salt. Also, who in the heck has the money or even equipment to even play something like this in 8K? Absolute win, boys. It's an absurd game that I just couldn't stomach for long bursts on PlayStation 5 due to mixed performance. Now I can get to play it at best with 120 frames per second. Glad I waited for the PC version. Knew it was coming. The graphics and visuals do not look good, but the PC version, well, 120 FPS support. PC is the best gaming place. Cool ass game, man. I felt stupid on owning a PlayStation 5 now. This is starting to be a thing where some people are saying. If we go over here and take a look at Giamatsu's thread, what I thought it was released, hopefully DLC soon. Nice, very good game. Yep, selling my PlayStation 5 next week. Let's see what somebody has to say about this. Did the same thing when Ragnarok hit PC. Like, what's the point? Who's copying this day one? Finally. Right, we kind of get we kind of get this down here, y'all. There's no reason to have a PlayStation. That's starting to be a thing now. Interesting, huh? So let's talk about how many games that Sony are putting on PC now too. How many this year already? We just had Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which was not their game either. They money had it, right? But you don't see it coming to Xbox because they want to keep it off of there. That's on PC. Spider-Man is about to come out too on PC. Last of Us in April is coming out on PC. Now we could say they have the publishing rights for those games, right? But all Microsoft has to do is get that hybrid model going, get Steam on Xbox, and bam, Sony can't pull out the plug. You see what I mean? I guarantee you these games though are going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch too. because Sony doesn't see Nintendo as the threat like they would at Microsoft. There's like this personal thing between them. You guys ever notice that? Like where it's like you just can't put it on Xbox. Though Sean Layden was like, we don't want to do that because we don't think that it'll sell as good as it would on PlayStation, and they have a lesser base than us. Though I think that that's kind of like some bullshit because they can give you a check to put it on Game Pass, and you have that much of the community. That's way more than any sales you would get on PlayStation because the Game Pass community is massive, right? You put it on Game Pass, it's also on PC Game Pass. So I kind of think that that's, no, I'm not going for that because they can make that work. But yeah, what games do you think are next, y'all? I guarantee you Ghost of Yotei will be coming to PC too towards the end of the year or next year. Death Stranding 2, I don't know if you guys knew this, but remember Death Stranding 1 came to Xbox recently. Kojima owns Death Stranding. Check this out. Sony doesn't own that. Kojima Productions has also confirmed that it now fully owns the rights to Death Stranding. This means that future games in the series are no longer limited to PlayStation, allowing for potential releases across more platforms. So realistically, what does Sony really have that's going to stay on PlayStation this year? Ghost of Yotei? That's about it, right? Death Stranding is going to come to Xbox and to the Nintendo Switch too. But first, they got to get the first Death Stranding on Nintendo Switch. But it's going to happen. They'll put that on there later on this year. Guys, do we see this? So all those ponies saying all that stuff, I guarantee you, watch how many games start to come to Xbox, and watch if, and I think Microsoft is following this route because Phil Spencer says he wants a unified aspect when it comes to the Xbox brand, meaning that eventually, like in the future, everything's going to be play anywhere. Whatever you own on Xbox will be playable on PC. So, and he's saying that he made that very clear in that last interview that they're doing business deals with Steam. And if they're working that close with Steam, they're going to put Steam on Xbox. Watch the look on these PlayStation fanboys' face when they get Steam on Xbox and all those PlayStation games are on there. Sony's not going to back down because you can't pull out of the PC market. You see? So if they still want to play that game, like I said, the best solution for Microsoft is to get it on Xbox. Get Steam on Xbox. Then what are they going to do then? That's kind of like a trap towards them to get away from that, right? To where it's like, oh man, we're going to have to do it anyways. Or you know what? We'll just save the resource and just let them get it that way. Either way, the future is going to come down to how good is your first party and how good are you as a publisher, so that in the future, when you turn on your television, when consoles, I wouldn't say they're going away now, but it's going to be to where you pick up this controller and it's going to be which service you want to choose. That's why the most important thing right now is in-house and first party and having the games, because it's the future. It's not going to be hardware forever. That's what people need to understand. I'd say who would survive the longest in that? Well, of course, Nintendo, then Sony after that. But eventually, yeah, technology differences are going to be gone. Cloud's going to be so good in the future. Internet's going to be so like available everywhere that it's going to come down to that. So all this stuff people are saying over on the PlayStation side, it's all temporary. And Microsoft has the right setup. They're getting ahead. Sony's the one that's still trying to be stuck. And even Sean Layden himself admitted when he said that you can't do the blockbuster world anymore and think that that's going to be sustainable and profitable. Games are too expensive now. So that's going down the drain. It's not going to work. So the only thing we see that they're having this year that we know that may not come to Xbox, if they don't do that route, is Ghost of Yotei. But Death Stranding 2 is coming. So other than that, man, they got to get their shit together. Phantom Blade, once again, if that comes to Steam, remember, guys, Phantom Blade 0. All Microsoft has to do is get Steam on Xbox. And that's all game over. One deal. Then the console war gets very interesting after that. All right, y'all, that's kind of what I wanted to go over today. When it comes to scrap, let me know what y'all think about these ideas. Peace out, y'all. And I think that's happening, trust me.